Why are so many worthless stocks beginning to sell off? What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions, and anything as of right now that was like a speculative asset is not having a good week. For most of the NASDAQ market, let's go ahead and quickly talk about it. QQQ, if we actually pay attention to where we ended the week to where we started the week, it's kind of like break even. Markets as a whole, if you thought this week was bad, it's probably the stocks that you're invested in. Most of the market isn't aggressively selling off. It's those high risk stocks that people are beginning to de-risk. You might be asking, well, why? Why are they de-risking with all these high risk stocks? Well, again, they have a thing called common sense, right? So it's always those like the no revenue based companies or the companies that have gone up 500 to 1,000% in a short period of time that are probably selling off quite a bit. An example can be, is if we look at the 30-minute time frame, the recent retracement on IONQ from overall highs of $84 to overall lows of $60, losing 27% of its value, nearly 1/3 of its value gone. RGTI, don't even get me started on this one. My only the only thing that bothers me about this stock is that on Webull, it doesn't allow me to short it. Would have made a ton of money on this one. Sold off nearly 30%, 29%. We have Irene with the slight pullback. HIMS, we absolutely killed it. HIMS just in the past 2 days from overall highs when every other crypto bro and meme stock trader was telling you to buy this stock. Again, if you paid attention to overbought and oversold levels, you would understand that this stock is incredibly overhyped up, overbought, overvalued, and trading like it's a tech company, yet it's not. It lost about 1/4 of its value in just 2 trading days. And again, we did our little part in making our money and bouncing. I made $9,800. I held the position of 300 shares as a short. I'm holding that into the weekend. So excited to see how and if the selling pressure continues. It does not have to. I don't encourage you guys to short this. Again, I'm not like those crypto bros or like the meme stock traders. I don't need you to jump into the same stocks that I'm choosing to trade. I like to share my ideas, and that's just it. Just like I hope that you can share yours and not get offended by other people's opinion. The reason I'm so willing to share or short HIMS is because of what's going on internally. There's a lot of scrutiny going on within the company, and obviously because all the red flags are kind of swinging around. So, don't even get me started with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had one of its worst trading weeks for 2025. And if we see from overall highs of 126 to overall lows of 103, which we hit, I think this morning or yesterday, it's an 18% sell-off. What's happening? Remember, it's always the worthless stocks and worthless assets, these speculative assets, things that are of high risk that get sold off first when the warning signs begin to present themselves. This shouldn't be a surprise. There's uncertainty with Trump and China. We saw the red signs last week. We're seeing them again this week. Trump has now said that he can move up the China 100% tariff deadline from November 1st. And I just thought this meme was funny. Trump saying that he could move the China November 1st deadline up if he wants to. Again, just so much uncertainty. It's all based off of what Trump feels like. And it's never been so dependent, not on fundamentals, but based off of someone's tweets and someone's feelings. On top of that, the government is shut down, and we're going on record for one of the longest government shutdowns in history. The longest shutdown has been 35 days. We're on track to exceed that, and we're getting closer to 40 days. While that being said, again, you have a lot of these politicians that are pointing the finger at Republicans control the Senate, the House, and the White House. This is what Chuck Schumer is saying on social media, right, on X. But again, anyone with common sense knows that it requires 60% to pass a vote. Who do you think continues to vote no? Again, it just, I think, shows and highlights how stupid they think you are by making claims like this. Oh, yes, the Republicans do control the Senate, the House, and the White House. Okay, obviously, there's a disconnect there. Why is almost every Democrat voting no? We all know that it needs 60%. And if you don't, now you do. So this thing needs to pass if we want the government to be back open, right? In the meantime, with all those red flags of the labor market slowing down, the Fed not being able to access data to make an informed decision if they're going to be cutting rates, pausing, or increasing rates. What's going on with not just the labor market, but our inflation rate? Our inflation rate has been going up. These are all uncertainties. There's nothing that is certain. I mean, it literally is incredibly expensive to just put a roof over your head right now in the United States. Yet, markets were at all-time highs, or kind of still are, but it's these speculative assets that are seeing the largest retracement. I wanted to share something very interesting that I thought to be pretty interesting, and it has to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, you guys know that I'm not a big fan. I like to be straight up with you guys. If you're looking for someone to encourage you and motivate you to buy Bitcoin, I am not going to be your guy. I think that it's a complete gimmick. I think it's a bunch of idiots that come together that pump up the price. Do I think that there's some value behind it? Possibly, but definitely not at 120,000 per coin. There's a reason that every time that Bitcoin crashes, it crashes 70%, 70 to 80% every single crash. And it's because these overhyped up, over-leveraged crypto bros pump it up to the universe to the point that when it pops, it just falls within itself. And the part that I find to be so interesting is the most bullish guy for Bitcoin is Michael Saylor, right? But the part that I find to be super interesting is that when you look at his recent purchases, they're only in the few hundreds. But just a few months ago and over a year ago, right, they were in the thousands, tens of thousands. What's going on, Michael Saylor? You're telling everyone to take a HELOC on their property and buy Bitcoin at all-time highs. Why, if you think that it's such an amazing investment, why wouldn't you double down and buy as much Bitcoin at $120,000 or $126,000 per coin? Because you know in every which way. Again, the numbers speak for themselves. Why is he buying so much less now than he was a few months ago? Because momentum is beginning to fade. And don't even get me started with the hype behind MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is a terrible business. It's a business that loses money every single year. It's a company that calls itself a Bitcoin treasury, yet it trades at a multiple of the Bitcoin that it actually holds. Make that make sense? So by you buying Bitcoin, if it's a way for you to be able to own a part of a company that indirectly now owns Bitcoin for you, you're now paying a premium to own this stock, because based off of what this company is valued at to what this company actually owns in Bitcoin, it's valued at higher. So you are paying a premium. Again, I'm not big on Bitcoin, but if you're going to buy Bitcoin, at least buy the asset itself, or a 1-for-1 ETF. Why would you ever buy into this bullshit company that since 2024, it has not been able to make new highs? Yet if you look at Bitcoin, it has made multiple new highs in 2025. Multiple. But MicroStrategy can't. Why? Because the Ponzi loop is beginning to fade. And you can see it. Who do you think is going to be affected most when Bitcoin, when? It's not an if, it's a when, right? It's a fact. Every single time that markets pull back, not saying it's going to happen now or anytime soon, but we all know that every time markets pull back, Bitcoin crashes. Again, not an opinion, it's a fact. Crashes over 70%. Look at every Bitcoin rally. It always crashes 50 to 70% every single time. So if this were to be the case for Bitcoin at the highs of 126, which I think this crash can actually be greater because of how much more now people are leveraged and how much more aggressive people like Michael Saylor have been and encouraged others to be. I think what we saw last week on Friday is just a taste of what can actually happen for months. If you look at the possibility of a 50 to 70% retracement, it's so beautiful because it becomes very clear that we can go back to $40,000 per Bitcoin. And again, no one ever knows exactly what it's going to retrace to. All we know is that eventually it does when the hype begins to fade. It's always these speculative assets that always crash the hardest. Why? Because people pumped it up so high that there began to be a disconnect between the actual value and the technology behind the company or the asset to what it actually got pushed to. It was pushing to new highs, not because, again, anything new actually happened. It's simply because enough hype and momentum came together at the right time, at the right place to push it to 126. So we'll see. You better hope that Bitcoin does not break below $100,000 per coin, because if so, again, Michael Saylor does not have a lot of room. With their average cost being $74,000 per coin, what do you think is going to happen if Bitcoin begins to get closer and closer to 74K? From the lows of 103 that we hit today or yesterday, 74 is 28% away. Not that far, and definitely not far-fetched. Think about this. The most leveraged person that owns Bitcoin is just 28% away from being break-even. This is why he is so aggressively encouraging you to hold, so aggressively encouraging you to buy more, while in the meantime, he is buying less, because he knows the gimmick and the hype is beginning to fade. Again, although I'm not a big believer in Bitcoin or any of these speculative assets or companies, what I'm here to remind you is that you are your own person, and we all see value in different ways. We all have different risk tolerance. I respect that. You don't need to convince me that you believe Bitcoin is the future. Cool. Do you. It's your money. You invest it in what you see value in. All I want to encourage you is to please don't be leveraged. Don't borrow money and trade with money you don't actually have. That's the worst thing and the last thing you want to do at overbought levels. All I'm here to say. It doesn't have to be that deep. It's not even just about crypto. It's about stocks, about any company. Please take risk to reward into consideration. Stop looking at the 1 minute or the 5 minute time frame. Look at the 4 hour, look at the day chart, and look at the bigger picture. Ask yourself, what's your potential for profit, your goal, and what's the potential for loss if it returns back to what it was trading at, let's say last year from today, 12 months ago? What is the downside risk? And I can reassure you, a lot of these overhyped up stocks, there is so much more downside risk than there is upside potential. Just be cautious. The red flags are presenting themselves. It doesn't mean that anything has to crash right now. All it means is that the flags are there, the signs are there. That doesn't mean you need to be scared. It just means I hope that you end up being intentional and calculated. Or if you do choose to trade or invest in anything, it's simply with money that you actually have, not money that you are borrowing. One of the worst things that you can experience is experiencing a sell-off with borrowed money and then getting margin called. So now not only do you not have that position for much longer, you're going to get liquidated and possibly even owe money on a position that you are losing money on. It's just like the worst thing you can do. Leverage is great when direction is in your favor, but as momentum begins to fade, it can get very ugly very quick. Take last week on Friday as an example, when 80% of people that were over leveraged got liquidated and just wiped out. Please, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via Instagram. It's the third link in the description down below. Or I do trade live every morning. And if you ever want to tune on in to our daily live sessions, we work with complete beginners every day. And again, it's just a raw live session. So if it's a way that you want to start off your mornings, feel free to check it out. Second link in the description down below. We have a little discount code there for you. I appreciate your time. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.